The third week of the Dale Warner murder trial is now in the books, and new developments this week are hinting at this trial could wrap up weeks sooner than expected. Thanks for joining us on WTOL 11+. I'm Kaylee Maritat.
I'm Dan Cummins. Now, this is a case our team's been following since Dale's wife, Dee, first went missing nearly 5 years ago. Tonight on WTOL 11+, we're taking you inside the courtroom where a highly anticipated testimony from the former lead investigator of the case wrapped up just hours ago.
Plus, we're joined tonight by a former detective and private investigator, Jim Trout. It's all part of our continued in-depth analysis as the prosecution continues to build its case against Dale.
But first, Melissa Andrews begins our extended coverage tonight in Adrian with the must-see moments from court.
Detective Kevin Greca is the 30th witness to take the stand in this trial and maybe the most long-awaited, but much of his testimony centered on what he didn't remember. During questioning by the prosecution, Greca said, "I don't recall," or "I can't recall," 19 times.
Now, we saw the video, and if you need to see it again, your body camera video where there's a tank on the property on April 27, 2021, and you walked by it, correct?
Correct.
Was there anything about that tank that stood out to you when you walked by it?
I didn't even recall seeing the tank. I recall seeing other tanks, but they were like fuel. I think one regular gas, one road diesel, and then one off-road diesel. But as far as those tanks there, I didn't even recall seeing those.
Body camera footage from April 27, 2021 showed Greca searching barns, trucks, and a chicken coop with Dale Warner's consent while planning to bring in K-9 units and drones. At one point, he walked past what appeared to be a freshly painted tank near a burn pile. Greca testified none of the tanks raised concerns at that time. At one point on body cam, Dale shuts the search down, saying he has work to do. Greca explains it's best to continue searching to shut the other side of the family up. Dale refuses, and they get a search warrant and come back later. On cross-examination, Greca seemed to recall more details. The defense highlighted Greca's extensive access to Dale in the early investigation, including time spent speaking with Warner and his daughter. The defense also asked Greca about a conversation with Dee's brother, Greg Hardy, in which he said Greg asked him to pretend to download his cell phone data in front of other family members. Hardy allegedly told Greca that he couldn't really give over his phone for download because a federal officer had given him information about his sister's disappearance and he didn't want to get him in trouble. Greca said he did not download the phone, but he also didn't pretend to either. You'll remember Greca was arrested in December for not complying with a subpoena to testify. He said he did not want to testify because he's retired and testifying pays so little. A juror did ask if he removed his body cam and put it in the car so that he could have a conversation with Dale's son, Jaron Warner, off the record. He said no. The prosecutor could have, but did not, ask him why he took it off at all. We also heard from several experts today. One said that she took paint scrapings from the tank where Dee Warner was found and compared that to samples from paint in Dale's barn. She says they are similar, but she couldn't conclusively say that the paint on the tank came from those cans. Another expert testified that one of Dale Warner's fingerprints was found on a sticker on the tank. And a third digital expert said that Dale Warner had searched chemical creation and widower dating sites, though she couldn't say exactly when those searches happened. We're told testimony could wrap early next week. Reporting in Adrian, Melissa Andrews, WTOL 11.
Also this week in court, we've heard testimony from others laying out key pieces of evidence like the cadaver dog searches, cell phone data, and surveillance video tied to the farm. A Michigan State police trooper told jurors just yesterday that consent to search was revoked during an early visit, forcing investigators to later return with a warrant.
At that point, I believe I searched the fertilizer barn, and then I began searching toward the back of the property, began walking toward, they had some trucks parked out there, so I began walking back toward those vehicles, and at that point, I was advised the consent was revoked, so I had to stop searching.
Meanwhile, the judge is making sure the jurors have a better understanding of all the new evidence by taking them to the Warners' properties this week. On Wednesday, the courtroom was empty as the jurors and Dale Warner went to the key locations in the case. They first visited where the fertilizer tanks are. That's where Dee Warner's body was eventually found. From there, they went to the couple's home in Tipton. While there, jurors walked around the back of the property, inside the house, and through several barns, shops, and areas with ammonia tanks. The judge instructed jurors not to speak to each other or anyone else about what they saw. You can be the first to hear about the major developments in this case. All you have to do is get out your phone and text the word trial to the number you see on your screen. That is 419-248-1100. Then our team will send you links to our stories with trial updates as soon as we get them. Plus, you can read up more on this case's history and the disappearance and discovery of Dee Warner.
Well, joining us now to give a new insight into all of this is former detective and personal investigator James Trout. Thanks for being here with us tonight.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good. Not the first time we've talked. We've talked about other cases before, but we wanted to get your insight on this case, especially because today we heard from the former lead detective in this case, Kevin Greca, and all eyes had kind of been on him because he was arrested for ignoring a subpoena.
Yes.
So lots of eyes on that. I want to know, is your time as a detective, how monumental can that moment be, taking the stand in a trial like this?
Well, and oftentimes in a lot of these high-profile cases, as we call it, everything comes to fruition. Your skill set, as far as being able to relay the information that you've gathered, as far as being able to communicate to the jury and the judge, and hopefully it has a significant impact on the case.
What kind of preparation can go into testifying? I know for this case in particular, we're talking almost 5 years ago now that Dee disappeared. How much preparation can go into getting ready to take the stand?
Well, typically, we consult with the prosecutor because they're going to be the ones trying the case, no doubt. At which time we try to gather our notes and various levels of evidence. And sometimes we're required to go back into the field and re-interview witnesses and so forth. So it can be quite an exhaustive experience.
What are prosecutors hoping that jurors take away from that testimony of putting a lead detective on the stand?
The primary responsibility of the investigator, if he can do a thorough job, he or she can do a thorough job, you want to try to relive that scene as it occurred. The incident, whatever happened that particular day, it's up to you to be able to put together the facts and all the information so a jury and or anyone involved in the case can get a good picture as to what happened, be it yesterday or be it months or maybe even years ago. You got to try to do that as best you can.
I know for today, the defense and Melissa had reported that a big argument that the defense was trying to make are things that Detective Greca did not remember. What are usually, in your experience, what is the defense trying to do when they cross-examine a detective?
They want to strike the credibility of the investigator. You know, try to make it as if he doesn't, or he or she doesn't know what they're doing. It's just a matter of credibility and skills. So if they can diminish your credibility, that's maybe like a plus for the defense attorneys.
We're talking in this case, you know, sometimes situations and cases don't go to trial for months. Sometimes it's years. In this case, Dee was missing for 3 years. There's this big gap in when this happened, when Dee disappeared, to us now being on the trial. What kind of challenges can arise for detectives that it's been years since they were on this case?
Human nature, memories fade, witnesses die, relocate. Just some things, evidence deteriorates as well. You know, if the evidence is not preserved properly, people sometimes they change their mind. They don't want to get involved because they might have been intimidated or what have you.
Can a detective or investigator's testimony completely change the momentum of a trial and how maybe jurors are feeling?
It can to some degree, but any good investigator, they realize they got to remain impartial and neutral, but they have to be very effective with their communication, and they have to be competent in what they gather as far as evidence is concerned. You have to be believable.
What would be, I have one last question, what would be your advice to people who are watching this trial unfold?
Well, we want people, the public in general, to understand every little bit of information helps. We take nothing, we consider nothing to be unimportant, and don't be afraid to contact us.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
James Trout here with us. We are going to send it, before we wrap up, actually, we want to check back over with Dan Cummins with a look at what you can expect next in this trial. Dan, what can you tell us?
Well, Kaylee, court resumes Monday morning in Lenawee County. We're told the lead investigator on the case with Michigan State Police is expected to continue his testimony. Plus, some big news as the judge says testimony could wrap up early next week. Now, that puts the case on track to go to the jury weeks earlier than originally expected. You can watch the entire trial live here on WTOL 11 Plus Monday from the very start until court is adjourned for the day. Plus, you can join us again Monday evening at 6:35 for the must-see moments from court and a look ahead at what's next at this year's high-profile case as it nears the finish line. Until then, you can stream Hidden in Plain Sight, the disappearance and discovery of Dee Warner, anytime on WTOL 11 Plus. 11 Investigates sat down with Dee's family and broke down the entire investigation in our special 30-minute presentation. That'll do it for us tonight. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms and download our free WTOL 11 News app on your phone to get breaking news alerts and updates in this trial sent right to you. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.